Okay, so in the last video, we got our images into the project and got them down onto our timeline by changing the duration of the shot in the viewer and dragging them down to the timeline. But what if we want to actually change the order and the duration of these clips now that they're there? The great thing about Final Cut Pro is that it's very visual and intuitive. So if you're used to dragging and dropping, you're pretty much halfway there. So for example, one of the most fundamental things about editing is deciding which information you're going to display to the viewer at what time, and that basically means the order of your shots. So if this were something, more impacting than just a few snapshots of my kids, we might want to order the display of these differently. So what we can do is we click on one particular image in the timeline, and we can drag it, and I can put it behind that, and I can take this one and I can move it over. And this one I can move over. And as I get close, it does something called snapping. You see these little triangles or arrows that appear between them. That's snapping so that there's no gap between them. Because the idea is that you are trying to get everything to line up so that there's no gaps. And this is controlled through a button on the timeline called snapping. And you can turn that on or off. If I turn that off, when I drag these around, I can get it really close and it won't snap. And you notice I've got a little gap there. If I turn snapping on and I move it really close, it's going to go ahead and magnetically attach itself to the previous clip. So depending on the way you like to work, you can do that. Another thing you can do is you can change the duration of a particular shot. This 10-second shot is probably a little bit too long, so it's easiest to work with these when they're not snapped up next to each other when you're doing duration changes. Notice how when I put my mouse over the clip, it's just a regular mouse until I click on it, and then it changes to what's called a move icon. The arrow's pointing in 4 directions, which means that when I click on it now, I can move it around. Depending on where you put your mouse on the clip will determine what kind of activity you can do with it. If I put my mouse right over the edge, I get a bar with 2 arrows, one pointing in either direction, and this is called the trim tool. So if I click and drag now, I'm actually changing the duration of this clip, and it tells me how much the difference is. It's 0 change in duration right now, so it's going to be 10 seconds. If I move it to the left, it's going to make it longer. It's moving it to a second and 29 frames, or 2 seconds there, and the new duration is 11:29. Or I can make it shorter, make it 2 seconds, make it 1 second. You can sort of see how that works with the overlay. So I'm going to make this one 6 seconds, let's call it. And I'll just let go when I have it where I want it. I can do the same thing from the other end. For still photos, it doesn't matter. When you're working with video files, you're actually going to be trimming the end or the beginning of the shot, and you'll be losing or gaining information, the frames that come before or after the selection that you've made. We'll get into that in more detail. But for now, we have a 6-second shot, and we can drag and drop these things to be where we want them. So we'll have the 6-second, our 2-second, and then our 5-second shot. And then I'm going to back the play head up all the way to the beginning, or I can hit the home key to do the same thing. And then I'm going to play with the spacebar. And you'll see up in the canvas, we see our shot for 6 seconds. And we have our 2-second shot and our 5-second shot. So notice we've changed the duration and the order of these clips. We can also stack them on top of each other for what we call sort of compositing reasons. For most footage, all that's going to mean is that whatever's on top is going to be what shows instead of whatever's on the bottom. So for example, if I wanted to drop this shot on top of that one and then close this gap, all this does is it's going to show that top clip first, and then it's going to show the bottom clip, and then it's going to show the next clip. Now notice that because these are slightly different shapes, I'm seeing this bottom clip through the blank spaces of the top clip. And this has to do with aspect ratios and transparencies and all kinds of funny stuff like that that we will get into in due time. But just so you know, it's very much like Photoshop. It's as if you have a camera that's pointing down through these layers, and you're going to see what's on top first, and if there's any transparency or any space left over, then you'll see what's underneath it. And we can get into really fun stuff like transfer modes and transparency and opacity changes that will change that behavior as well. So that's it, simply dragging and dropping, and you can trim the edges of the clips by hovering over the edges.